I'm Elisa.
And I'm Samantha.
And I'm Adam.
And welcome to Watch for Deer.
Hey guys, we have a very exciting episode, one that I'm actually a little bit obsessed with. And I'm so obsessed with it, I had to get my good friend Adam, who is a federal agent, to join us in on this because it is a disappearance case. So we're going to let Adam tell you a little bit about himself, and then we're just going to go with it.
Yeah, and I'm not real familiar with this. I mean, I read up really quickly on it. So it's going to be all new to me too. So
well, I did, and Adam and I have been discussing it because I am a little bit maybe obsessed with it, and I did ask you to look up some stuff on it so we could have a conversation.
I know the basics.
It is probably one of the most intriguing cases that I've ever read.
Yeah,
I'm really intrigued with it. Okay, so Adam, introduce yourself to us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. First off, very excited to be here and Elisa meet you. I've had the pleasure of knowing Miss Sammy there since about 2016 when we moved back to West Virginia. But big fan of the show. I listen to the podcast in the morning on the way into work, and I catch up on the podcast on the way home if I don't get to hear it all by the time I get there. So thanks again for having me on. So like Sam said, my name's Adam, born and bred there in West Virginia, not far from Sam, down in Wayne County. Used to be a Huntington police officer till about 2007. And then I got on with the federal government, moved down to Florida and then back to West Virginia. That's where I met, Sam through the Blue Knights. Then been over in Kentucky now for the past 2 years. And I got about 3 to go till I'm eligible to retire, and I will probably hit that button when I can.
Well, thank you for your service and all you do for everyone. We appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, so the story is Brian Randall Shaffer, and I usually don't do the stories, Adam, and you listen, so you know. Elisa usually does them, and I just respond to them. But I'm going to do this one, and it's what I have written up is not very long. It won't take me very long to tell the whole gist of it. The main thing are the theories of what happened. So let's just dive right into it.
Let's go.
All right. So Brandel.
Brandel.
Mm-hmm. Good luck me reading this to everybody. So we're just going to call him Brandel now.
Brandel.
Oh, Lord.
It's kind of like Brundon.
Yeah, Brundon. All right. Brian Randall Shaffer was a medical student at Ohio University College of Medicine. He seemingly had everything going for him. He was a handsome musician with a beautiful girlfriend, a soon-to-be doctor that could play guitar, and doesn't that sound like most women's dream?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my husband plays guitar.
He ain't no doctor.
No, he ain't.
So Brian was a 2-year medical student. However, Brian never got to see his dream of being a doctor or becoming a Jimmy Buffett style musician come through. Never happened. He was a huge Pearl Jam fan too.
I like Pearl Jam.
And back then when this case happened, I had read or listened. I've done so much research on this. That on MySpace, he had put the doctor thing was just kind of a thing he was doing until he could just really break out and come out with his first album.
Oh, so he had big dreams.
He had big dreams.
Nice.
All right.
I do too.
So Brian Shaffer was born on February 25th, 1979 in Pinkerton, Ohio, to Randy and Renee Shaffer. Brian also had an older brother named Derek. Derek sadly lost his entire immediate family within 2 years.
Wow.
Mom, dad, and brother. Brian and Derek's mom suffered from cancer and eventually succumbed to illness 3 weeks before Brian's disappearance.
Oh.
Brian and his mother were very close. He was a mama's boy. We know about those mama's boys.
We do. I got one myself.
So many believe that it is possible that on April 1st, 2006, on April 1st, 2006, Brian took his own life. Now, hearing that someone took their own life, as sad as it is not uncommon. However, how could it have happened? And if he was actually depressed enough to do that, it's totally a different story. So listen to the story I have for you and come up with your own conclusions. And then we're going to talk about the theories and stuff. So,
all right.
So this is on my laptop. You just got to give me time to scroll here. On April 1st, 2006, Brian Shaffer went out to party with friends and to celebrate the beginning of spring break. Now, earlier that day, he went and met his dad for dinner at Outback. Now, remember, his mom had just passed away 3 weeks before. His dad did say that he looked just busted. He was exhausted. His dad said he couldn't believe that he'd even want to go out that night. He looked so tired. So
I feel him.
So on April 1st, 2006, Brian went out, partied up with some friends. This is going to be the last time anyone ever seen or heard from Shaffer. Brian was joined by his good friend, William Clint Florence. Remember that name? I'm going to refer to him as Clint. At 10 o'clock that night, Brian called his girlfriend, second-year medical student Alexis Wagner, to confirm their upcoming vacation. They were leaving that Monday. They were going to, I believe it was Miami, Florida. Many people believe that he was going to propose to her.
Oh.
So let me go down. Alexis was in Toledo visiting her family. She was a medical student also and hadn't seen her family in a while. So Brian and his friend Clint drank and did shots at the Ugly Tuna. The two men left. The two men left and went to a few other places. Each places they did shots. They met up with Clint's friend Meredith Reed, who offered to drive them back to the Ugly Tuna. Security footage from the Ugly Tuna shows that Brian, Clint, Meredith riding the escalator to the second floor to enter the Ugly Tuna. Brian is also seen at 2 a.m. exiting the bar and speaking with two unknown women, and then re-entering the bar after the chat. That's it, folks. There you go. That's pretty much what the whole gist. Now I've got other stuff to read, but that's it. He's never seen again. Hear me clicking my mouse? There's no other video of him leaving. Now, Meredith and Clint tried to call his phone that night several times. It went unanswered. They figured he walked home, so they went on home. Alexis, Randall, and several others called Brian's phone the rest of the weekend to no avail. Brian never met Alexis at the airport Monday morning. So where is Brian? How does someone just disappear?
Oh, man, I bet she just couldn't fathom.
The search was on for Brian Shaffer. Cops were searching, friends were searching, his family was searching. Brian's friends and relatives all answered questions, all answered the police questions. They all took and passed polygraph tests, all except one person, his roommate. Want to know who his roommate was?
Was it that Clint guy?
It was Clint. He did not take a polygraph test.
Shaffer.
Well, he said, his lawyer said. His lawyer said.
So he knew instantly when he came up missing that he needed a lawyer.
So his lawyer said that he did everything that the police wanted him to do. He wasn't taking a polygraph test. He felt that they're not always truthful. I guess maybe he was afraid that if it didn't come out, it showed some kind of deception, that he wasn't deceiving the police. But he thought that maybe if it did show deception, that would be like some kind of stigma on him for the rest of his life, and he didn't do anything. So 4 weeks, Alexis called his phone. One source says that she did this to hear the voicemail. Brian didn't have GPS on his phone back then. There was no GPS on phones back then, I don't think. But one night, several weeks later, she called to hear his voice, and it rang. She called Randall, which is his dad, and it rang, and they informed the police, and it also rang. But when they got a hold of, I think it was Singular Cellular back then, they pretty much told him that it was a glitch. It was just a glitch. Now, I know Adam has some thoughts on this. It'll tell us in a little bit.
Okay.
But that was just, Singular Cellular said it was just some kind of glitch. Now, here's a little something. I don't know if you all even know what Reddit is. I always kind of knew what Reddit was, and it's a bunch of bull crap, anybody kind of get on there like Wikipedia, right? You can get on there and anybody can say anything on Wikipedia. I mean, you can't.
I like the other term, Wackopedia.
It's Wackopedia.
Wackopedia.
So, yeah, Reddit is the same thing. But, of course, even there's going to be some truth to Wackopedia, and so there's going to be some truth to Reddit also. So while I was reading through Reddit, all of a bunch of crap, you know, a bunch of BS, I came across this one thing that I actually think is truthful. A few days after he went missing, his phone pinged. Now, according to the document on Reddit, this was actually information that the police did not want to come out to the public. I don't know why. I'm not an officer of the law, but supposedly they didn't want it to come out. The lieutenant at the time was doing a media thing talking about it and let this information slip that they pinged his phone 2 days after his disappearance. And like I said, we're going to get more into this disappearance with cameras and everything. They pinged his phone, but apparently the lieutenant was like, kind of like afterwards, like, oh shit, I messed up. I wasn't supposed to say that. All that information was buried and it was never spoke of again. So take that with a grain of salt. I happen to choose to believe it. We don't know if that's true or not. Okay. There's a ton of theories to Brian's disappearance. There's actually really too many to mention. The way the cameras were set up outside, a few things I have read have stated that it's possible that he did leave the ugly tuna without detection. One of the cameras out front is a fixed camera. It has a little slice on the side of it that he could have walked, you know, kind of like, you know, if you go out a door, put your back against the wall
Kind
and
of
then shimmy down. The problem with that is, even if that camera wasn't there, there was another one that panned the area. If he was as inebriated as he was supposed to be, how would he even know where that camera is? How to dodge it? I mean, Elisa, you know what it's
you ain't going to shimmy if you're inebriated.
Elisa, you know what it's like to be drunk, sis. Could you have shimmied down a camera and wall last night?
I just shimmy on down to the floor.
So, and you know, so they're saying that he would have had perfect timing. Another theory is that he left out a service entrance and exit. Again, we're going to talk about this more in depth. During that time, it is said that they don't believe that that absolutely could have happened because it was so heavily under construction. Many think that he might have been killed in the ugly tuna and carried out of the service exit and buried in the construction. Maybe he did use the service exit and got hurt. Some people believe that. Maybe it was foul play. Some people, and Adam, I know you and I've talked about this a lot, but another thing that I was listening to said that, you know, being a medical students and all those exams and everything, students, and I'm not saying Brian did this, but it's a possibility. People do this. They use drugs like Adderall, cocaine, you know, maybe he had gotten involved with the wrong people, owed some money. There, on one of the cameras outside, it looks like, and many people seen this, I've seen it. It almost looks like the two girls he was talking to outside, he kind of slipped him something. Well, Brian had a lot of money. Maybe he did buy something that night and they saw that he was loaded. You know, maybe they saw that he had a lot of money. With the plans he had and the way his life was going, it doesn't seem likely at all that he would just take off. Even though he was heartbroken over his mother, it just doesn't make sense that Brian would just take off. He had everything in the world going for him. My God, he was a 2-year medical student. He was super handsome. He was like 6'2", 180 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes, had a little fleck, you know, musician. It seems like
he had it all.
It looked like he had it all. Beautiful girlfriend. Some people said that maybe he left to grieve his mom. He went to, you know, he needed time to grieve his mom and then died while he took off. And nobody ever knew. Here's what we, you know, I do know this. He wasn't caught on any cameras going outside. And even if he had shimmied down the wall, the camera that panned him didn't get him. Columbus, Ohio at the time and still has more cameras on the streets and on the outside of bars than any other city in Ohio. So even if he wasn't caught at the ugly tuna, he should have been on other videos. The police searched all the surrounding videos. Well, they didn't get him.
And there was nothing.
Hold on, let me see where I'm at here.
Yeah, and on those cameras, that was one thing I read, that it's a lot for a detective, you know, and a PD to come up there and say emphatically that they are like 100% sure that, they reviewed every camera. So that's a big statement to come from, from the police, that you don't want to give 100% certainty of something, because there's always a chance that you miss something. We're all human and can make
Yeah.
mistakes.
I
But
wouldn't.
that's a big statement to come from the PD or even the detective saying 100% he was not on any video around, after that time period.
I wonder too, Adam, on those videos too. We're talking about this is 18. I think. Um, how many years ago is it now? 20 some years ago now. I think it's 20 some years ago now. Um, but it seems to me like that even the cameras back then, I know that what I looked at, you could tell if it was somebody by the clothes that they had on, but you couldn't really make out faces. Like it's not like it was good camera imaging.
Very
Yeah.
pixelated.
Yeah. Obviously, it's over. Technology has changed, over the years.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can remember some of those old bar cameras and looking out there, and it
Yeah.
just looks like, like a fuzzy picture.
Yeah. So anyways, they supposedly didn't have him on camera. They said they looked, and that especially the one from the bar that night, they said every single person is accounted for going in and out except for him. They actually, knew each person going in and out, and everybody's accounted for, and he never did. Him being a huge Pearl Jam um fan, loved Pearl Jam. He had the Pearl Jam stick man. All of us 90s kids, all of us 80s and 90s, we know the Pearl Jam stick man. And he had the stick man tattoo on his shoulder. And Eddie Vedder, during a Pearl Jam concert, held up a missing poster of Brian Shaffer and said, this guy's one of our own. Let's, bring him home. Did a description of Brian. Nothing ever came of that either. So that's pretty much, the whole gist of the story. Now, there is a ton more to it, but that's just going to get kind of everybody caught up to it.
Yeah.
Caught up to the story. So I have a theory, but let's talk about all the stuff that you and I talked about, Adam, over the last 2 weeks talking about this. And then I have a theory, and I know what my theory is. I think I know what. I mean, I have a theory.
Are you still on the chips and salsa? You're going to go get chips and salsa?
I mean, I kind of want it. Apparently, the Ugly Tuna now is a Mexican restaurant, and I kind of want to go to Columbus and get some chips and salsa and look around.
Yeah, you did ask me if we wanted to drive up there yesterday.
Well, no, that was today.
Oh, today.
That was today. So, but no, Brian, he goes in. I was watching a thing. It was on Nancy Grace. So he's outside talking to these two women. Now, for the most things that I read, Adam, these two women are never mentioned. I did find their names. Out of all the articles, podcasts, videos that I seen, there was one that had their names, only one. And I've watched a bunch. So, and I was afraid that, there goes Elisa. Elisa had to leave. We're just going to let her go back and forth. Elisa had a night last night and is not feeling her best.
That happens.
She's not feeling her best. But, so Nancy Grace, she had said something, and I thought about it too. He goes out and he talks to these women. These women are never really mentioned. I only found their name on one thing, so I don't want to mention their name because they were found. They had no idea. They passed their polygraphs. It was literally just two women he was talking to out there, except they said that one of the girls, Brian, kissed her on the neck, and that she gave him her phone number. So that was kind of odd to me if he was getting ready to get married, but whatever.
Well, it's funny you say that. So there was some information that I came across too, just like reading up on it last week, that those same two girls, is that there was a kind of a theory that I guess some other witnesses had said that they don't think Brian actually went back into the bar, that he was talking to those two girls, and that he was there was somebody else that they had interviewed and said he was trying to set up a after hours party at his house, and was like flirting with those girls and trying to get, that he was kind of, I guess they identified him kind of as like a ladies' man, and was, trying to, get with them like after the bar closed. And they had said that they don't even think that Brian went back in.
Well, I mean, maybe he didn't. But even if he didn't go back in, well, what Nancy Grace had said, and this now who was with Brian was Meredith Reed and Clint Florence is who was
Yep.
with Brian. Meredith Reed took a polygraph test. As far as I know, everything that I read, she took it and she passed it. So if she was with Clint and he didn't take one, maybe he was legit, afraid of the stipulation of not passing it because he was so nervous. He was supposedly Brian was outside at 1:55 a.m. talking to those girls.
Yep.
He goes back in at 1:55, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, Clint and Meredith are outside calling Brian and couldn't get an answer. What happened in those 5 minutes?
Yeah, well, and that's what we said the other day. And then I got to kind of thinking too. I was like, well, if the bar closed at 2, I mean, we've all been at bars, when they've been closing. If it's
Yeah.
1:55, and from that video on there, it's not going to allow. There was video that I found on there of the escalator, and they had 2 Columbus cops.
Yeah.
Were right up there. I guess they were Columbus cops, but more than likely a bar's not going to let you back in. They'll be like, "Hey, dude, we're closed," or we're
Right.
closing. So why let you back into the bar with literally 5 minutes before? Because they're already starting to shove people out.
Right.
Telling, hey, it's time to go.
Right.
So it's kind of strange too.
And then the
Like
construction. Go ahead.
Yeah, like wondering if he actually did go back into the bar, or maybe they just if he was out there on the camera, if it just looked like he appeared to go back into the bar, but didn't.
Yeah. Well, they said that there was a service exit out there, and that if he had, it is possible that he did go out there. I guess anything's possible, Adam. You know that. It's the probability of it is, what we've got to look at.
Yeah.
And well, I guess what everybody's looking at. But if he was that drunk, and they said, well, maybe he stumbled upon that, and they said it was under heavy construction. Maybe it could have been a drug deal gone bad, and then he was thrown into something. He could have actually just fell into something. I know his dad Randall had went to a psychic. And did you read this where?
Yes, it's something about a dock or like in the water or something like that.
Yeah. And then I guess Derek, his brother, and Randall, his dad, put waders on, and for days they searched the river and creek and or whatever the water source was there, and they couldn't find him. Said the police.
The one cool thing or the weird thing is that about his phone is that when that other ping that popped up was there in Hilliard, which was allegedly supposed to be a phone recycling plant, and that they wonder like if the company had turned it on to whatever they do, that's where allegedly that other ping. Of course, too, it's weird when pings work because I mean even back then they're doing triangulation, trying to get as close as possible to an actual site. It's wasn't obviously like Find My iPhone nowadays to where it's pretty much within 5 feet of where the spot is.
Yeah.
But that was a theory as well, is that other ping was the phone being turned on at that recycling at that phone recycling place.
Hold on now. Adam, we're getting ready to go down a rabbit hole. Now I have questions for you, sir. For you, federal agent Adam. I have questions. How does one turn a phone into a recycling place? Do they have to document does a phone have like a VIN number or something?
I don't know. I mean, I think now, obviously I haven't taken one to a phone recycling place, but depending on where they go, it would depend on whether or not they turned it into some place or if it was property found and then it just got shoved over to this place, kind of like batteries, taken up to certain places. But they have those things like at Kroger's now that you can like sell your phone, or it's like a phone recycling thing and they'll give you whatever for it. But I'm not sure how it exactly works, but I mean, we're talking back in 2003, 4, I guess 2004. Yeah. So it may not have been the stringent rules on cell phones as it is now.
I just wonder, I bet you now, like everything is logged. Every phone they get, is it called a VIN number for a phone? It's a serial number, right?
There's a serial number, and then each phone has a IMEI, and it's a distinct characteristic of the phone.
Okay. I see. I didn't read about that. that just makes me think, well, if that is true, how did they get it? Maybe somebody found it. If you found a phone, would you recycle it? I mean, I know a
If
lot
you
of
get money,
people.
if you're getting money for it, I mean, it's like
Oh,
kind of like going to like a pawn shop.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Hmm. That's interesting.
of course, being in Columbus, obviously much bigger city than like Huntington or Charleston,
Yeah.
it may have been a different, product, in something that size there
Okay.
in that city. So,
Hmm.
but I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't follow up to see if there was an actual place there, but that was the information that ping that showed up, whatever, a couple days later.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. If they had dogs and stuff, I mean, they did. They said that they took the dog, like, they had the dog smelling in the dumpsters, all over the place, sewer systems, all this stuff. Could a dog, and you would know this more than anybody, like the sewer system and the dumpsters and stuff, they smell really, really bad. If they're looking for him and he's not, or if he has been dead, only like, let's say 48 hours. Would a dog be able to smell him over all of the other stinky
Oh yeah.
stuff?
So that was one of the other story. There was some information in there that I guess a dog indicated there, like in the hallway or bar or something, that had picked up on his scent, but it didn't go outside the bar. It
Yeah.
didn't. It didn't follow him anywhere else, and that's not uncommon because a scent can get walked on top of, and depending on else what goes by, and the dog as well, how well it's trained, and the handler.
Yeah.
But the dogs are trained to more or less scent or pick up on a scent of microscopic skin cells. So when we
Oh.
walk around or run, sweat, whatever, spit, but we're always kind of flaking off these microscopic skin cells,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the dog is looking for when they're looking for a person that we believe is alive. Um, and they may had a shirt or a hat or something with his scent on it,
Mm-hmm.
trying to trying to find him in that area or around that bar. Now, cadaver dogs are trained differently. They're trained to pick up a scent of a decomposing human body at different levels, and so that's what that dog is, and they're specifically trained to pick up that smell.
Okay.
Same thing with dogs that are trained to pick up drugs. They can smell a number of different narcotics and marijuana, and you can train them to. I mean, they're training dogs now to smell for cancer cells.
Oh,
Um,
I've seen that.
yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the dogs. I mean, the scent that these dogs have is just unreal. Or what they can pick up.
Mm-hmm.
But so from what I read, they had multiple different styles of dogs out there. They had tracking dogs, and then they had cadaver dogs. Trying to find, pick up any scent, and yeah, they can differentiate between human and other stuff. Or they may pick up something even of another animal, but they would still indicate that they smelled something. So obviously the police then would, stop and look around that area.
Yeah. Well, I did read too that maybe maybe he didn't kill himself. Maybe it wasn't drugs. Maybe he just wanted to disappear and wanted a different life. Maybe he actually just wanted to do this musician thing, didn't want to be a doctor, kind of just lost it. The who's that comedian that just took off? Chappelle. He did this. He just left.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I mean, people kind of knew that he just left, but when his dad died, Randall died. I think it was like a year and a half later, maybe something like that, year and a half later. Um, and they had the obituary, and his dad died. It was bad. He was
yeah.
outside
Got hit by a
cleaning.
tree.
Yeah, he got hit by a tree, like in his yard
Fall.
cleaning up.
Yeah,
Yeah. And do you know, I've heard that, Adam, it's very weird in the last few years. I've actually known of several, like a few people who have died that way.
that's why I don't work around trees.
No. And I live in the middle of the woods, and I'm telling you, when the wind blows, I'm in the house.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
I
I
would
go
be
in the
too.
house. I do. Yeah. But yeah, his neighbors found him the next day, but in the obituary, and also just for you, Adam, if this goes off in a little bit, I'll send you one right back. I'll have to get Elisa to hook us back up because it gave
Okay.
me some kind of warning. But and we'll just splice them together. But his obituary, did you read that? Randall's obituary in the Columbus paper or online or something?
Yeah,
And
it was a like an e thing, like
yeah.
went through email or whatever. But what I read though was that they debunked that it was not.
Mm-hmm.
It was. local or however, I think they tracked it back, or they determined that it
They
was
did.
definitely not him.
Yeah, they
That it
did
was just
track it back.
it
Yeah,
was just a hoax.
yeah, it was done, but it said, what did it say? The Virgin Islands said dad something something
Yeah, it said it
something,
was from the Virgin Islands.
but
Yeah,
it was from the county right there in Ohio.
yeah.
Like it was from that
Well,
county.
and like what you and I talked about earlier too. So obviously this was post 9/11,
Mhm.
and everything had changed as far as getting on a plane, uh, ship, boat, train. I mean everything. Obviously United States was at a different heighten of awareness
Yeah.
then at that point. So I don't. I mean, obviously, it's not uncommon to be able to get fake IDs and fake passports, but I mean, it was a lot more scrutinized at that point. So I don't know if sometimes the theory of him disappearing, I mean, unless he got in a car and drove to Mexico and, and drove out of the country to get down or,
Mhm.
you know, somehow got, but, why would you go to the Virgin Islands? It's still,
Right.
you know,
It just
territory.
it was just it's just to me he just disappeared. He went inside. He went back inside and he even if he did like that night, like you said, that some people think he was like, "Hey girls, come on, we're gonna switch numbers, we're going back to my house." He just wasn't caught on any of the cameras.
Yeah.
And I don't think he went inside and changed his clothes because they have accounted for every single person that left the bar that night. And there's nobody there in a different outfit that they're like, we've not talked to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, they didn't find any clothes. From what I read, they didn't find any clothes. But I do
Yeah.
like your theory on, a possible maybe owing somebody, or if he was trying to get something and got a ride out of there,
Mhm.
and and then something bad happened, and they
Right.
just ended up hiding the body,
Yeah.
and it was totally, if they got him in the car and they took his phone and tossed the phone,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Well, that's
so it's
still that is not. I mean, I think that's maybe more plausible. I don't think. See, when I first started this, actually, I was like, Clint did it. His friend did it. His roommate did it. What friend wouldn't want to, who wouldn't want to be like, absolutely, I'll take a polygraph test.
yeah,
But if you think about it, and if he did actually, he had Meredith with him. Meredith took the test. She passed it. If Meredith is with him, I don't think, I mean, I think that maybe he was just, I mean, for lack of better terms, scaredy cat.
yeah.
Maybe.
Or if he was worried that it, like some of the questions about, um, maybe his extracurricular activity, if he
Right.
was seeing other girls, but
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to marry this chick, down the line,
Right.
maybe he didn't want to lie about it if he's asked, hey, is he seeing anybody else or, doing anything else? He didn't want to have to lie about that and then show deception,
Right.
because it's going to show up on the polygraph.
Yeah. Um,
But
but
it would be kind of hard for him if he's with that Meredith. I mean, it's kind of hard for Clint to be involved in foul play if he's with her and then leaving with her.
right. Well, this is going to cut off in like 30 seconds. So let's just stop here
Okay.
and let me text Elisa here because it's just going to cut off. When it does, just hang tight. Let me get
Okay.
her. Okay, we're back. We took a little mini break. So when we left, I was going to tell you, Adam, what my theory is. And of course, I mean, what's my theory? I'm just a person who's been reading about it for a month. There's people, who live this. I'm sure
Yeah.
that
No, you could be the next Nancy Grace.
yeah, that's what I'm going for.
There you go.
Yeah. Uh it's really not what I'm going for, but I'd take it. I'll take it. But while I was
I don't think her hairdo would suit you. You'd have to stay with your same hairdo.
You think so? I don't know.
Yeah.
A blonde helmet hair.
With that like a thing on it, she does.
like a like a
Yeah.
like a little wisp.
Yeah. I don't think that would suit you. Scotty
So
may not like it either.
I think Scotty would he doesn't get a say anymore. So, but while I was doing all this, because my original thought, it really was, and my volume turned down, but we don't care. But my original thought was, I really did think that maybe, it was some inside, like an inside thing, like maybe Clint did have something to do with it. I thought that. Um, and it just boggles my mind because how do you, if he did go back inside, it's just so crazy to me to think that if he did leave, once he went back inside, if he did leave, that The stationary camera, the panning camera did not catch him, that he was inebriated. He couldn't have, I mean, we're talking about someone drunk. And if you've never been drunk before, let me be the first to tell you that it is all you can do to walk straight. That's why the police tell you to walk a straight line.
Yeah, exactly.
Bear, and but to go through a heavily, I'll spit it out in a minute, construction area, it just doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah.
So while I was digging through all this, another article popped up about somebody else. Now I'm going to read this article and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. And then you tell me what you think happened. This is an article by megaphoneupworthy.com. Larry Murillo Moncada, I'm sure I'm butchering that name, 25, was reported missing by his parents in November 2009 in Council Bluffs, Iowa. His mother, Anna, said at the time that her son had started to become disoriented and reported hearing voices before he went missing, with doctors giving Murillo a prescription for antidepressants. Following Murillo's disappearance, his parents believed that he had simply become upset, ran away from home, and search efforts were focused more broadly. Maria Stockton, a translator for his mother. Now, some of this stuff that she says, kind of weird, but there's a point to this story. Translator for the mom said he was hearing voices that said, "Eat sugar." He felt his heart was beating too hard and thought if he ate sugar, his heart would not beat so hard. Authorities were unable to find any trace of Murillo until 10 years later, after he went missing. Investigators told CNN that Murillo, his body was found in the former No Frills store where he had worked before going missing in 2019. Workers had been removing shelves and coolers from the building after the store closed in 2016 when they discovered the scene. His body was found in an 18-inch gap between the cooler and the wall, according to the police captain, Todd Wedham. Police identified the body and former employee. Workers were often known to climb on top of the cooler because of the area was used to store items. Workers would also hide in the gap when they wanted to take an unofficial break. Wedham said that the body showed no signs of trauma and the death was ruled accidental. So this guy, 20-something-year-old guy, and you and I already talked about this 20-something-year-old guy was in that store for 10 years, Adam. They had no idea until they started moving shelves around and found him in an 18-inch gap. Another thing that I had read said that they were known to climb up on top of that and that he could have fallen down. Now, I think that Brian Shaffer is still in there. It was a bar on the second floor, so who's to say the gaps and, the maybe an elevator or anything. I don't think he left. Now, let's talk about if he, the smell. How could they have not known that this guy for 10 years, not Brian Shaffer, the other guy, was in that wall? How could they have not smelled that?
The one that you just talked about in Iowa?
Yeah.
Like when you told me that the other day, it's kind of baffling. I know they said about something that was close to exhaust fans, but I mean, a human body puts off a distinct smell, but two, I mean, depending on, if it was close to a cooler, if it kept the body cool enough, but, man, at a point, I mean, when the body starts leaking out, fluid, after you pass, but depending on how he fell and if his kind of mouth was up, there may not have been much for, like decay of where he was kind of back. Maybe almost be kind of mummified.
Mm-hmm.
that, and two, if people weren't back there, but man, can you imagine being the person that moved the shelf and all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, there's Jimmy.
Yeah, there's Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
that's kind of crazy that, that he was there that amount of time. But two, if the parents thought that he had ran away, then they may have not even, gave any thought to looking in the store. But I mean, common sense would be that would be the first place that if it was there and you never saw him leave,
yeah.
that would be, I mean, you would think that, it's like when you lose the remote, in the living room, you turn the couch upside down, pull all the cushions out, and you're moving it 5 different ways to,
Yeah.
finally find what you're looking for. So I don't know.
So back when Brian Shaffer did go missing, and they said that they searched inside of the Ugly Tuna Saloona.
Yeah.
Did they have the technology like they do today to like do, I don't know, X-rays on the wall and stuff? Did they?
Yeah, they had that available, and I read some stuff as well. Is that not only did police do an exhaustive search inside the building and in the construction site, that they allowed his family to come in and do a secondary search with, other people. So I mean, unless it was just a great hiding place, but two, thinking of the timeline of somebody being able to, and especially all the people that they talked to at the bar, bar workers, that,
Yeah.
how would he had time to get somewhere and get hidden? And plus the thing with the phone, that the that if the phone went dead, or was turned off and then turned back on, like if he had fallen in the construction site, the phone would have just ran out of battery power,
Yeah.
and then wouldn't have had that so-called second ping,
Yeah.
later on.
I
So I
don't
don't know.
I don't know. I don't think, after doing it, and of course my opinions are, not from any kind of expert whatsoever, because I mean it's literally just what I read online and what my brain goes to. But I just think that I just don't think he ever left at 155. He was seen going back in. If he did go back in, I don't see how any cameras could have caught him and they would have missed that. And, if you're going back in and there's one exit, one entrance, the same one, if you're going in and your friends are coming out, they didn't see each other. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. What do you think happened to him?
Well, I mean, after reading some of that other stuff, I'm kind of more or less looking towards that he left, and some type of foul play happened afterwards. That somebody just got rid of his body because they wanted to hide it, possibly. I think it's kind of hard to think that he would have left and just tried to start the musician thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't want to be in med school anymore, then you just drop out, especially if he's got the money.
Right.
But that makes a different story with you talking about him handing those girls something. That's a possibility. Maybe he was selling something on the side.
I mean, I saw that video too. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks
And
like they never could prove it, but
yeah,
but it
and he
looks
owed
like.
money. Yeah, and he
Yeah.
owed money to somebody. I mean, that's a strong possibility that, as well, that he walked out of there and just wasn't seen, and then got in some type of confrontation, and then they just hid the body.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's it's these cases are always kind of strange, because there's another one that when you gave this information to me, there was another one there in Columbus that happened in 2019, where this guy disappeared over by Easton shopping center. I know you've been there before, but he had went for a walk, and then I think like close to like 4 o'clock in the morning, had called his wife. She was at that Hilton hotel there,
Yeah.
and told her, he goes, hey, I can see the hotel. And I mean, they did triangulation and found where his last spot was. But then like 4 o'clock in the morning, he's just like gone, like like dust in the wind. And they still 5 years later, they've not found him.
It's so crazy to me, like how somebody I just don't know how somebody can disappear. How do you just disappear?
Yeah. Well, the thing, if he was going, especially the one too, he was supposed to go on that trip with her and meet her at the airport.
Yeah.
I'm too cheap. If I wanted to disappear, I would still go on the trip, because I've already paid for the trip. I want my money.
Yeah, and do it and come back. Come back.
Yeah, exactly. Then I would disappear. Or if I was going on some trip, I would disappear on vacation, because less likely people are going to know me, in that place that I'm on vacation at.
Yeah.
And
I think they were supposed to go to
figure out,
Florida. I think it was
try
Florida.
to figure out a way to, you could definitely disappeared down in Florida.
Well, I read
Um,
that Alexis, which was his girlfriend, she's married now and's got some children, and his brother's married now and has some children. And um, Alexis just does not believe that he would have just left. She does not believe that and I'm pretty sure that that's what the majority of the people think, that he would just
yeah,
left. But now the lawyer, Clint's lawyer, had said somewhere, I believe, he had said somewhere that they believe that he's actually still alive, and
he
that
should just come forward. Yeah,
he should could just come forward, right? That it's not Clint, that one that has hurt the family and doing all this stuff. It's actually Brian, and the blame should be placed on him because he is out there still. He just disappeared, and he needs to come forward. I just
yeah,
find it hard to believe that, his dad passing away, he wouldn't have reached out. He was going to marry, they went on vacation. He was supposed to marry this girl. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. What about,
Yeah, well, yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Actually, yeah. I mean, he just may have got to it to where he's like, I don't want to do any of it anymore. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he just felt that that was, the his path. That he's in med school. Okay, now I've got to get married, and finally just had an epiphany one day and said, I that's not me. I don't want to do that. Especially if he wanted to be this singer songwriter, and maybe he disappeared to try to do that, make it big,
Yeah.
and started doing it somewhere, and they're like, you're awful. And so he's like, all right, well, I'm too
Oh,
embarrassed
yeah.
to come back to the life that I had now that I have, done this and I can't make it.
You just don't know what's going through anybody's
Yeah.
head. I
No,
just
yeah.
thought, what if, I mean, and again, anything's possible anymore. So let's go to, like, if this was a movie or whatever, what if he's in the witness protection program?
Could be. That's how you disappear real fast.
Yeah, you disappear fast. Now, let me ask you, you may know the answer to this, or you may not be able to tell me. I don't know. If he was in a witness protection program, which I didn't read anything about that whatsoever, I'm just shooting at the
Yeah.
hip at this point, would they have told his dad and brother?
No. Dependent. Yes and no. Maybe depends on who all was involved. But if he was so heavily involved or had information that was of utter importance,
Mm-hmm.
and that he knew his life, no matter what, he could never return to the life that he knows of, then yeah, they would have to put him in the witness protection program, and and he would be an afterthought. He would have a whole new identity and would live, would have to live someplace else in the country.
So they
But I
would
mean,
have,
that's some extreme circumstance right there.
well, right. I mean, this is
Especially
just
now, we're talking 18 years later. I
right.
mean, court cases would be over with, and
Yeah.
suspects maybe had already passed away, and so
Yeah.
I mean, it's a possibility. It's never
Sure.
outside the realm.
Would they have let his family think that he just disappeared, though? I mean, is that like an
Yeah, I mean, if it
extreme
was,
case?
yeah, I mean, if it was an extreme case, then yeah, because you wouldn't want the suspects to think that the family would know where he was at. So the family, the family would have to continue on with still the mindset that he's disappeared,
Wouldn't
and
that
they're
be
still looking
awful?
for him. Oh
I
yeah, it
wouldn't.
would.
I mean, and for him, like, I mean, like, again, that did not happen. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't swear that it didn't happen, but that didn't happen. But if it did happen, how awful would that be to live knowing that your parents think that you just disappeared or you're dead, and you
Yep.
can't reach out to them for their safety?
Yep.
For their
Yeah. No,
safety.
that would be tough.
That would be, that's horrible. I hate that I went down that rabbit hole. I'm jumping right
Yeah.
back out of it. I don't want that rabbit hole. I don't like
I
that
would
one.
just I would just ask them to say, well, all right, we'll just put my whole family on a bus, and then we'll fake our whole death, and that way the
Yeah.
whole family can move someplace.
Yeah. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Yeah.
going in the witness protection program and
Yeah.
getting new faces and names.
Like I need a bus with like 50 seats. We'll take everybody.
We're going to take everybody. And while you're at it, I'm going to take this hump off my nose here, and I need some lip filler. I'm going to get that Nancy Grace hair.
There you go.
Oh, well, Adam, I appreciate so much that you came on today. This has been a
Oh,
blast.
thank you so much. It was great.
It was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I
me
enjoyed
too.
it. Make sure you tell your lovely wife I said hi.
I certainly will.
Oh,
Jack
man.
Jack said that he could answer some law enforcement questions for you. He
Hey,
wanted to be on. He wanted
oh,
to be on
did
too. I was like, I don't think so.
well, next time. Tell him next time if
Yeah.
we have like a junior police officer type thing.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll have.
Or if you have one about football, then I'll tell him that he can come on to answer some football questions.
Yeah, yeah. So I hate that Elisa couldn't be with us, but again, she's not feeling up. She's
That's
not
all right.
feeling up to
That's
par. So I'm flying solo
Tell
on
her
this
she
one.
needs to practice. She needs to practice more.
She does need to practice more. She needs to practice more.
Yeah.
So
Got to be prepared for those days.
well, she's standing here behind me or in front of me looking. She's behind you. She waved. She waved like that. So, but Adam, this episode will drop in a few days and I'll let you know when it does. And I really do appreciate it. And let's absolutely do this again because I got a feeling that I'm just going to keep jumping down these rabbit holes and I'm going to call you and I'll be like, Adam.
Hey, anytime. I'll be happy to come on anytime.
Okay. All right. Well, take care of yourself. And as we say here all the time, watch for deer, Adam.
Watch for deer.
Watch for deer because they're out there.
Thank you.
They're out there. Okay. Bye, Adam.
All right. Bye. Thanks.